product is good. Well, I want people to be able to get this great product. And that product is working. It's really good.
When did the President of the United States turn into Gil from The Simpsons?
She's a beaut. You can't beat a Coleco. How many can I put you down for? A lot? Please say a lot. I need this.
How much trouble for the president that he lost Jon Stewart this week? We're going to talk about that on the Roundtable. Joined by Bill Kristol, editor of the Weekly Standard, Democratic strategist Donna Brazile, S.E. Cupp from CNN's Crossfire, and former Vermont Governor Howard Dean, also a medical doctor, presidential candidate. Let me start with you, Governor Dean. You were laughing when I used the words Obamacare. Chaos. You think everyone should calm down?
It's not in chaos. It's a rollout of a big website, and I haven't seen a rollout of a big website in anything, including the private sector, that hasn't been troubled. And this is one is troubled, and they're doing a lot of smart things to try to fix it. I think they'll fix it, and I think this is going to be fine.
So what do you say to those other Democrats like Joe Manchin who say, yeah, you might be able to fix it, but it would just be smart to have a bit of a delay?
It's too early for that. If there has to be a delay, I'm sure there'll be a delay. But right now, they think they can fix it by the end of November. I don't think they would have said that, because it's obviously going to be very embarrassing if they're wrong, unless they thought it was true. They have some really smart people, and they have a private sector company that's supposed to be fixing it.
Bill Kristol?
Well, let's hope they fix it for the sake of the country. But the problem, they can fix the website, but they can't fix Obamacare. And the big story this week and last week was the people in the individual insurance market, about 15, 16 million of them apparently, getting notices from their insurance companies that they will not be able to renew their policy for next year.
Because they don't comply.
It doesn't comply with all the mandated benefits in Obamacare, and their policies they purchased, it was individually rated. They got rated for whatever their health condition was, and now we have community rating. So over 10 million people are losing policies in the individual market. Joe Manchin, when you had on, said something actually very interesting a minute ago. He said, no one should be forced to buy a policy that's inferior to what they had and that costs more than what they had. That is what millions of Americans are going to be forced to do by being driven into the exchanges. Now, the defenders will say, well, that helps subsidize other people. But it's just a fact. Joe Manchin says no one should be forced to buy a policy that costs more and that's inferior. And that is not the case with Obamacare.
That's part of the defense. But the other thing the White House is going to say, Donna Brazile, is what some of the people who are going to have to pay more, and they can see that some people are going to have to pay more, but they're going to be paying more for a better policy, not an inferior.
For a better policy, absolutely. Look, I think this rollout was a huge bundle. It was a mistake, no question about it. But, you know, go back, Wilbur Cohen, who was the architect of the Medicare program, said that success in any social program is 1% inspiration and 99% implementation. I think that they're going to fix it. It's going to work better over the next 30 days. And you look at the people who've already enrolled. They're not just enrolling online. They're going, they're in-person rollouts. There are people who are calling that 1-800 number. By the way, I have that number, and I just tried it over in the green room. It works. And there are people who are being recruited to help sign up people. So I think it will work. And all of these, what I call negative folks who are saying bad things, they're going to eat their words for 5 months.
Perhaps, on the other hand, we're not learning who exactly is signing up right now. That's a number that the White House, the administration, is not going to give out an SC Cup. One of the big problems, and Rich Besser talked about this as well, one of the differences from Medicare, this time around, you need young people to sign up. If they don't sign up, it's not going to work.
Exactly right. There's two problems. One is the technological sort of mechanics of this. Obamacare relies on millennials, these young invincibles, who have never bought health insurance in the past, to suddenly change their behavior and buy something they don't think they need and in some cases can't afford. That mechanical issue remains to be seen, and the website rollout has affected that. But culturally, it also reads, I've talked to a lot of millennials, also reads as an inability to speak their language. Donna, you might call an 800 number and sit on the phone for 20 minutes. You might meet in person with someone. Millennials are not used to that. They don't meet in person with insurance brokers or travel agents or anyone. So they need a website that works, that gets them, that is easy, that is young person approved, and they're not going to be patient as the president and the administration tweaks all of those glitches.
I would have to disagree with SC, and this has been written about by many, many people, so I'm not just picking on her. It is not true that if young people don't sign up, the program doesn't work. That's false. And the reason is, the
White House has said that they have to have about a third of the people.
Bill Clinton has said
to 7 million people have to be young people.
No, that's not true, actually. Because the reason that is framed as being true is everybody assumes that you can't do community rating without an individual mandate, and that's not true. And I know that because I did it 20 years ago. We did most of the stuff that's in Obamacare. In Vermont. And we also have almost every child under 18 has had health insurance in our state for 20 years. And we've had community rating, really tough community rating, where you couldn't charge more than 20% above your base rate to anybody in the country, in the state, and you couldn't discriminate against anybody for pre-existing conditions. We've had this for 20 years.
Relatively small community, relatively homogenous community. Can it work nationwide?
Of course it can work nationwide. The problem is scale. Probably it would have been better to have 4 or 5 regional exchanges than one big federal one. They didn't know that 34 states were going to refuse to participate in the exchanges. We can fault the Obama administration. Certainly there's fault to be had here. I should add, though, the Republicans bear some responsibility for this, because they oppose and oppose and oppose. They actually did defund part of Obamacare. They didn't. The 44 votes they took to kill it didn't do anything, but there was some stuff attached to riders. Everything that the Obama administration has to do is to go upstream against Republicans who wanted to kill this program no matter what. And there is some responsibility that they bear as well.
President Obama said over and over in selling this plan in 2009 and 2010, if you like your current plan, you can keep it. That is false. About 15 million people are being told your current plan, which many of them do like. They purchased appropriate plans for themselves. They're being told they can't keep it. They're being forced into these exchanges, which A, don't work right now, and B, in which they will get a plan less suited to them that will cost more. That's just a fact. And I think that's the big political story, more than the website. The big political story is that President Obama said over and over again, if you like it, you can keep it. And that is not true.
And tens of millions of people last year got, refunds from their health care plan. Many people got grandfathered into their old plan. 3 million more adults are now getting coverage as a result of Obamacare. And 8 million women are getting preventative care. So Obamacare is already working. When I made that 1-800, and yes, I like apps. And if my old boss was in charge, he would get the IT people and the service people together and reinvent this, and it would be done like this. I'm referring to Al Gore, of course. And back in the day, Bill, when you and I were getting health insurance, we didn't have Twitter. So nowadays people want things instantly, and that's the problem, because when you call, George, I was able to get in touch with a D.C. person. I live in D.C., but I also called back from Louisiana, and they said you got to wait online for this health care marketplace. That's part of the problem. Part of the problem is Obamacare relies on cooperation and partnership with the states. And that's one of the reasons why this website has been so bungled.
You guys are talking about what the politics will be and whether it's going to be successful in the long term. We already see Ted Cruz. They're not backing off one bit. He may not have many friends in Washington, but getting embraced in Iowa. He was there again this weekend.
I'm convinced we're facing a new paradigm in politics. It is a paradigm that is the rise of the grassroots. It has official Washington absolutely terrified.
And Hillary Clinton may be staying away from the early primary states, but the big tease continues. Here's how she answered a question about Afghanistan.
They actually have women candidates. It's not likely that they would win, but that didn't happen here either, so you can't blame Afghanistan for that.
Just a tiny little drop of a hint right there. Bill Kristol, let's talk about Ted Cruz first, not backing down at all. One of the predictions he was making in Iowa this weekend is that come 2014, all the ads are going to be about Obamacare, and that is what is going to preserve the Republican majority in the Senate and help them get a majority in the Senate and preserve the Republican majority in the House.
I think he's likely to be right. I didn't agree with his tactics over the last couple of months, and I still think there was some price to be paid for the shutdown. But I've always said that the failure of Obamacare will dwarf, the train wreck of Obamacare will dwarf the minor derailment of the shutdown. And Ted Cruz is going to look better and better. He is the guy who understood one thing that a lot of other Republicans didn't. Obamacare is the center of gravity in American politics today. It's the most important program. It's the center of the Obama administration's legislative agenda. It is intrusive in a way that most normal liberal big government programs, however much people like me might criticize them, aren't. Most of these programs, you expand benefits for poor people, Pell Grants, food stamps, whatever, or you give benefits to everyone, Social Security. This is a kind of unusual program. You are forcing people into these exchanges. You can't, my friend in Washington who got his notice this week saying you can't keep your individual insurance, he's not being left alone. Most big government liberal programs do leave other people alone.
If your insurance plan conforms with the requirements of Obamacare, you don't have to.
Which very few, almost no, about 15% of individually purchased health insurance plans do. And why is that? It was a free market. If people wanted to buy all those benefits, they could have.
No. We kicked all those people out of our state when we did this, and it was a good thing we did because they were taking 50% of every premium dollar and keeping it for themselves.
Administrative
I mean,
costs,
this, you know, what this is doing is driving the fly-by-night insurance companies out of the market, or forcing the good ones who have bad policies.
Wait. So when Blue Shield drops, when Blue Shield and these huge companies drop 300,000 people in Florida, those are fly-by-night insurance companies?
First of all, Blue Shield is for profit, so it's Anthem, I'm sure, in Florida especially. Second of all, yeah, even good companies have crappy policies with enormous deductibles.
But the government, that's going to be great.
The government has a right to make sure that when you buy something, it is what it's supposed to be,
and that's to force you into the exchange. That's what they're doing.
I think that's okay because I think in the long run, what's been happening in the past is those policies that get sold don't cover what you think they cover, and furthermore, and this used to happen when I was practicing. An insurance company would pull your insurance if you got sick. That is not allowed anymore under Obamacare.
And look at these
I think
Republican
Obamacare
governors.
is, in fact, going to be the reason that we are going to pick up seats in the House and we are not going to lose the Senate.
And Ohio became the 26th state to expand Medicaid coverage for its uninsured individuals. 270,000 people. Now North Carolina is considering it.
And what percentage of doctors in Ohio accept Medicaid?
Well, you know, I'm not a doctor,
no, but
so you might want to switch around.
Most of the people signing up are signing up for Medicaid, which is a failing program, and increasing numbers of doctors
You have a growing list. You have a growing list of Democrats who are worried about Obamacare and who are not going to run on Obamacare's success.
And you were laughing when Howard Dean said that this was going to help Democrats next year. On the other hand, yes,
they're not running on Obamacare.
On the other hand, and Bill says it's going to overwhelm the shutdown. But right now, you look at the generic ballot between Democrats and Republicans in 2014, Republicans about 8 or 9 points behind.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing, back to Ted Cruz, I think what you're seeing in the Republican Party are two interpretations of what happened in 2012. Ted Cruz and folks like Mike Lee and Rand Paul are looking back and saying, you know what, we lost 2012 because we weren't conservative enough. Someone like Ted Cruz says, I got elected, and Mitt Romney didn't. So they're pulling the party that way. Then you have the Paul Ryan flank, who says, I'm pretty darn conservative. I'm conservative enough. The problem was messaging. We didn't have a positive message. We weren't artful in our articulation of our policies. And so you have folks like Paul Ryan and that flank trying to talk about how we can cut the deficit and let's be smarter about our policies. So there's that tension, and all we're talking about is how Republicans disagree with one another.
Look, you know, the problem with the Republican Party is that there are two Republican parties. I mean, Dick Cheney sat here and said his daughter's going to win. She's running against a Republican. Ted Cochran got a Republican challenger. Lamar Alexander, John Cornyn. The problem with the Republican Party is that it's exploding. And
two parties is better than one party.
I want to bring that to Howard Dean. How about on the Democratic side? If Hillary Clinton decides to run, is she going to face a serious challenge from the left, and are you going to be that person?
I am not going to be that person. I'm supporting Hillary if she runs.
Oh, you've ruined my day. I'm serious. She needs a healthy populist challenge.
I actually think they're likely to nominate somebody on the other side who is a Ted Cruz and who's going to scare the living daylights out of Americans. This is a guy who brought not just the American economy, but the worldwide economy to the brink of a collapse. That's what he was threatening to do. That is not going to be a person people are going to vote for President of the United States. And Hillary Clinton is the perfect foil. She's done it all. She's clearly ready to be president from day one. You can hardly ever say that about somebody who hasn't been in the who hasn't served in that capacity. She's got the foreign affairs experience. It's the perfect foil for a candidate.
That's a birthday kiss.
I'm so depressed. Howard Dean's not running. The Red Sox lose due to umpires. It's a rough weekend.
Well, you're still smiling, though. Thank you all very much.